Good evening. I'm sure all of us are very tired now, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. I'm going to talk about my understanding of landscape as my life and therefore philosophy of our work. And at the onset, I would say that this is something where we need to really think about: am I talking about a place? Am I talking about an idea? And both are probably the same. Is it nature? Is it culture? Is it life that we live in, or is it the environment where we live out our lives? So these are all very, very interesting thoughts philosophically, which help us to look at what really landscape is. And then when we look at landscape within landscape, that means we design in landscape. So how do we look at our settings? Are these instincts? Are these instinctive responses? Is there an analysis about it? Is this an art? Is it a science? Is it a practice? Is it academics? So it's all that I want to just quickly go through as I go through my slides. So the first aspect is about understanding where we build. What is this context? What is the geography? What is the setting? And these become not only settings for analytical approach to design, but also inspirations. In all these pictures that you see, you would see lines, points, planes, masses, and compositions. And this is what becomes our starting point to design. History, the way we have responded in our precedents, what have been the perceptions towards settings. That is something that I really hold very dear to my heart, and this is any time when one gets stuck, I think one should just travel out, and that's where you tend to understand how we can move forward out of this impasse. So all these pictures that you see here hold very, very special way of tailor-making the setting to something that artistically holds ground and becomes a culture to live in. And then there is culture, tradition, and rootedness, where we mix the two, where we try to bring in the activity, where we try to bring in our daily life into each one of our spaces. Another very important aspect is the daily experience of looking at nature as an art. Sometimes a leaf, the venation in a leaf, becomes something like a pattern of a little medieval settlement. Probably the way these lines radiate out of the stumps, the way shadows play, how a palm leaf can paint a rock, the way the striations of rocks are, ripples, patterns of light falling on water, and all these are inspirations. So in a nutshell, landscape architecture, what I think is, it starts from the phenomena itself, the nature of being, and then the narrative that we kind of evolve out of our thinking onto these things. So what is the inspiration? Inspiration is all that I just talked about. How do we ideate is how we look at all these inspirations, what runs behind our hearts and minds, and the shape or form it takes is what we end up with. So one very, very important aspect here is the ability to draw, the ability to be able to run over the contours of land and be able to see. So this is a problem with my practice, for instance, that I'm not able to keep up with the speed at which people want deliveries. And that is because I have to, and I'm only talking of the concept stage, because I have to draw with my hand, and I have to do it for every project. I can't just let it go without it. So this is where the way one conceptualizes, illustrates, and represents landscape is central to how it really happens to be. So here are some examples of certain categories of works that we've been doing, and these are all where you would find little glimpses of these inspirations, such as trees, such as waterfalls in nature, such as backdrops, such as these alleys and traverses. You would see how streetscapes become something like gardens or parkways. how parks become a sense of place where you can sometimes be in nature and sometimes have associations with the past, and sometimes have a sense of victory in your own surroundings. There are elevated traverses that bring out another plane in the urban scenario, where we are able to experience things around us while walking through in a very functional format, but yet aesthetically or engaging with all senses. In fact, this example is where we have explored three kinds of geometries in dealing with the traverse. Then there are residential condominiums where one looks at luxury, one looks at the statement that the lifestyle statement that one talks about, and one has then resorts. In resorts, one is talking about not the building and the landscape, but the setting. How we can be minimal in what we do within, and really make a vantage for what lies beyond, and and integrate the setting and the design. Universities offer a very interesting arena for interaction, and a very special place where you are able to forge your initial impressions with life and environment. So such interstitial spaces hold very, very important, these are vital for landscape, I would say. Similarly, schools, can each landscape become a learning experience? Can we teach subjects? Can trigonometry be a part of a designed space? Can mathematics be a part of, or fractions be a part of the paving? Sometimes when we design for foreign missions, then how do we look at the stylized aspect of landscape to reflect a certain ethos of a country, of a settlement? Workspaces likewise talk about the slickness and the corporate identity that one brings out through design, and somehow getting the interiors and exteriors merge into one to form continuums. Retail, commercial centers, where a lot of traditional way of looking at our public spaces can be brought in. So we've tried to explore some such models in our retail developments. And then comes the way of looking at the larger scale of landscape, where one links nature with the design through these regional networks, through townships, through open space structures. And this is not out of the 20, this is the 21st slide, but it just says that the endeavor continues. And I would just like to read this one thing that I hold very dear to my heart, and this is how I practice that. What is important is to keep our mind high in the world of true understanding, and returning to the world of daily experience to seek therein the truth of beauty. No matter what we may be doing at a given moment, we must not forget that it has a bearing upon our everlasting self, which is poetry. Thank you.